Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving headfirst into attempting to map out one of the most complex, chaotic, and frankly, just unbelievable sagas in internet history. I'm talking about the descent of Shanny and Rev. Now, if you've been following the breadcrumbs left by various reaction channels, you already know this story is a total labyrinth. We're talking deleted live streams, constant drama, and a genuinely staggering loss of wealth. But you might be wondering, why does this matter to you? Well, it's a stark, real-time look into how quickly online echo chambers, completely unregulated broadcasting, and untreated issues can unravel real lives. It's watching stability transform into utter chaos right in front of a live audience. So let's map these characters out chronologically and use the facts to understand exactly how they ended up where they are today. Here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll meet Shanny and Rev. 2. 2018, The Union. 3. 2019, the GMan era. 4. 2020, chaos and arrests. 5. The homeless era. And finally, 6. The minor characters. All right, section 1. Meet Shanny and Rev. Let's get right into it. First up, we have Shanny, who's widely known online as Shanny for Christ. Her background is basically a maze of contradictions and sudden drastic shifts. Believe it or not, she actually started her online presence as a staunch atheist debater before entirely pivoting her persona. But behind the screen, the source documents reveal her personal life was incredibly turbulent. She's a mother of 2, but tragically, she lost custody to Child Protective Services on multiple occasions. Online, though, she built this massive reputation for highly volatile behavior. She thrives on explosive arguments, creating these deep rifts in communities and generating endless stream drama that basically became the hallmark of her digital footprint. And then, on the flip side of this dynamic, we have Rev, also known as Revelation News, or simply Jason. His background is a profound contrast to Shanny's. Following his mother's passing, Rev inherited a massive sum of wealth. We are talking $700,000 in liquid cash, plus 2 fully paid-off houses. Yet, despite this sudden, overwhelming financial stability, he lived a remarkably isolated existence. He had literally no prior romantic relationships to speak of. Crucially, and this is documented repeatedly throughout the primary sources, he struggles with this severe, untreated alcohol dependency. So, right from the start, we have 2 incredibly different individuals, bringing vastly different resources, histories, and traumas straight to the table. Moving right along to Section 2, 2018, The Union. Okay, so let's jump back to the period just before 2018. Shanny was deeply entrenched in various online debate communities. Spending hours every single day broadcasting. Then, in early 2018, her life shifted dramatically when she broke up with her then-partner, Chris. By mid-2018, having increasingly connected with Rev through their shared online circles and live streams, she decides to leave her previous life completely behind. Rev officially moves her into one of his newly inherited houses. Effectively, they merge their isolated online worlds into a shared physical reality. Now, real quick, before we completely leave the events of 2018, we absolutely have to talk about Chris, Shanny's ex-husband. He's a vital piece of this puzzle. According to the archives, he married her specifically to help provide a stable environment so she could regain custody of her kids. He worked constantly, taking on the whole financial burden to support them while she stayed home. However, his involvement in the lore ends abruptly, and pretty violently. There was a highly volatile physical altercation where Shanny allegedly pushed Chris's brother straight through a sliding glass window. This chaotic, violent exit is precisely what pushed Shanny out of her previous marriage and directly into Rev's orbit. All right, Section 3, 2019, the GMan era. So now we're in 2019, and the newly formed living situation rapidly deteriorates as their private lives become, well, increasingly public. In early 2019, another prominent online personality, GMan, moves into the house, supposedly under the guise of assisting with renovations. But by mid-2019, the constant proximity and nonstop broadcasting cause tensions to absolutely boil over. This results in GMan being aggressively and famously evicted by Shanny on a live stream in front of hundreds of viewers. By late 2019, this immense environmental stress begins to fracture Shanny and Rev's own relationship, peaking with Rev publicly snapping on camera about her relentless behavior. So, who exactly is GMan? He's a really crucial supporting character here, and understanding his involvement is key. He's a Christian YouTuber who acted as both a temporary housemate and, eventually, a deeply reluctant antagonist. His frequent, intense clashes with Shanny provided hours of heavily archived content that basically fueled the reaction community for months. Today, as noted in the sources, he maintains a fragile treaty with the couple. It's essentially an unspoken digital agreement to stop publicly attacking each other in their respective broadcasts. Next up, Section 4, 2020, Chaos and Arrests. And trust me, it gets dark here. With the house now empty of guests, 2020 arrives, and a rapid sequence of truly disastrous decisions unfold. In February 2020, facing dwindling funds as the inheritance begins to evaporate, they attempt to launch an OnlyFans account. As you might guess, it is immediately and widely mocked by their online community. By mid-2020, things take a very dark criminal turn. Rev actually commits a hit and run, striking a parked car with a child inside at a local school and fleeing the scene. The legal consequences inevitably arrive in late 2020, resulting in Shanny's second arrest and Rev being charged with assaulting a police officer who was dispatched to enforce an order of protection. Which brings us to Section 5, the homeless era. Look at this contrast. It is honestly staggering, and it serves as a sobering reminder of how fast immense assets can just evaporate without intervention, financial literacy, or sobriety. In 2018, remember, they sat on $700,000, 2 houses, and total financial stability. Present day, they are entirely unhoused. They were recently kicked out of the local CIC shelter, and they are surviving solely by begging viewers for donations. It is a precipitous, devastating fall. It really highlights the intense danger of isolating yourself within a digital echo chamber while completely ignoring real-world consequences. Now, you might be wondering, how does the very last of that massive inheritance just vanish? Well, the chronological archives reveal that by 2021, the remnants of Rev's cash inheritance were completely drained, spent entirely on hotel rooms, legal fees, and impulsive purchases. In 2022, Rev's Uncle Tommy briefly took them in to provide a safety net, but he officially evicted them once he realized the vast wealth was entirely gone and their chaotic, broadcasted lifestyle hadn't changed one bit. Today, they wander the streets of Pennsylvania, continuously getting banned and kicked out of local community shelters. So what does their day-to-day actually look like now? Their daily survival relies on a highly precarious day-to-day digital system. They heavily rely on their remaining online audience to crowdfund simple things. We're talking a pizza, a soda, or a cheap motel room for the night. When that funding fails, they've literally been documented using local hospital ER waiting rooms just to stay warm. And all the while, they continue to broadcast severe, toxic public arguments on live streams to thousands of onlookers. In fact, this absolute insistence on streaming every single moment of their lives, combined with public intoxication, is exactly what got them formally banned from local aid facilities like the CIC shelter.
All right, Section 6, minor characters.
You literally cannot have a saga this massive without a whole sprawling cast of secondary characters who have enabled, observed, or been victimized by the couple. We already mentioned Uncle Tommy, who briefly provided housing before the eviction. But then there's Nadia. Archived streams and documents reveal Rev was secretly funding her highly expensive New York City rent and limo rides out of his initial inheritance. He was quietly bleeding his funds dry without Shanny even knowing. Finally, there's Anna. She was a longtime viewer who engaged in highly inappropriate email exchanges with Rev. Those eventually leaked, of course, sparking massive on-stream jealousy and explosive physical fights with Shanny. And of course, we have to talk about the reaction channels. They have essentially become the dedicated archivists and historians of this internet lore. They're the real Greek chorus of this story. Phil's lobotomy meticulously downloads and saves their live streams and legal documents before Shanny and Rev can sober up and delete them. They basically act as the community's primary record keeper. BGTV provides real-time commentary, breaking down their live arguments, confronting their behavior, and directly challenging their narratives. And Loudmouth Hussey reacts to the ongoing drama, routinely hosting massive panel discussions to try and make some sense of the couple's daily, chaotic updates. There was a moment recently that perfectly captured the sentiment of this entire observer community. It happened during a broadcast on BGTV. Speaking directly to Shanny, a commentator noted, and I quote, "He literally comes online to beg for food and soda. You absorbed every single dime this guy has." It's harsh, for sure. But it's a deeply observational truth that echoes the profound frustration of nearly everyone watching this unfold over the last several years. So all of this leaves us with one final, really provocative question. After losing nearly $1 million in assets, burning bridges with family members, facing arrests, and finding themselves wandering the streets with absolutely nothing but a smartphone to broadcast their misery, is there a bottom to this downward spiral? Or will the cycle of toxicity and online enablement just continue to spin? That's all for today's explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you guys next time.